Hey guys, this is Daph. Thank you so much for joining me. Thought I would jump into this illustration with the good old Manga Studio Pro, or I guess Clip Studio Pro as it's now called. I've mentioned in previous videos that I haven't been that active in the program. I generally like to draw everything by hand and ink by hand. But for this, in recent times, I think I've just been feeling a little guilty that I had the computer just sitting here, not really doing much other than coloring. So I thought I'd bust it out and use the old Oogie 1640 that I have just sitting here. And as you can see, after the quote-unquote digital pencils are done, I print it up, and then I put it on the old light box. Lightbox is something that I had always heard about, but I never really explored it. I think there is that stigma that it's cheating in some bizarre way, even though you are essentially just tracing your own drawing. I love it, to be honest. It is a little frustrating in times because the lines are so much more cleaner that you do lose a bit of that organic feel that your pencils have. Jim Lee, who's a phenomenal comic book artist, I'd say he's one of the best of all time, says every time you refine a drawing, you essentially lose 25% of what it was. And I completely agree. I think I may be losing more than 25%, to be honest. But it is definitely a loss, even though for clarity's sake, it's good. So, as always, I bust out the Stettler fine liners. Generally go with the 0.3 as my baseline, and then from there I can go up to the 5 and the 8. For finer detail, I can go down to 0.5 and 0.2. But nonetheless, I have mentioned in previous videos that I bought a little Crayola light table for, I believe it was like $18 at Target. It's certainly not sponsored by any of those, but I saw it and I figured, hey, let me just give it a try. If anything, my 7-year-old can have some fun with it if I just find it useless. It is definitely not nearly as bright as something you would buy on Amazon or an art store that is for actual professionals. But as you can see, it gets the job done, and I mean, it gets it done really well, I gotta say. You can see, in all honesty, I think if you were to do it in a darker room, you'd have much better results because you don't have all the ambient light sort of taken away from the translucency of it all. So for this cartoon, as you can tell, I'm sort of tackling the coming wave of life getting sort of back to normal, but yet there's so much liability, and there's going to be, sadly, I think there's going to be a bit of paperwork that people are going to have with them. There's talk of, obviously, the travel vaccine, or vaccine passports, and anytime I hear people needing to have paperwork, it just kind of makes me worried a bit. What's next? You're just gonna get stopped random and papers, please. Kind of reminiscent of a period in history that is better left in the past. Kind of screwed up the line in the back up there and the crown molding, but I figured I wasn't really going to get to that part of the drawing. I try to keep things as close to square as I can, maybe 4:3 aspect ratio, but certainly not letterbox as this sort of shows. It's interesting as time goes on that I have the program, I could see people inking in it, certainly. I guess it's like one of the strong points because it's non-destructive. Because back in the day when you'd get an original piece of art and you would throw that India ink on it, man, it was just committed right there. But I don't know, I just like the fact that there's so many weird aberrations in the inking here. It sort of gives it a little bit of personality, and it's just not perfect. And here, obviously, I think this is one of the big strong suits, other than penciling, is the coloring and the adjusting color and just seeing what it can do, really, Well, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Everything matters to me. I do look at comments. I do look at numbers. Thanks again, guys.